I'd like to call to order this special meeting for the DDA. What day is it today? It's Thursday, January 19th. If we could, roll call, Elizabeth.
Sure. Tar?
Here.
Kellogg? Here. Brandt, Rose are absent. Hayes?
Here.
Poznansky?
Here.
And Stevens.
Here.
Okay.
Everybody could stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance for me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have anybody here today for public forum?
Hi,
Hi,
I'm
Donna.
Donna. Each time I come to you to speak before you, I share my appreciation for all that you do to promote a positive, welcoming downtown. Once again, I come to thank you for all that you do to help our community thrive. Regardless of the obstacles being presented, I have witnessed how our DDA and community can work collaboratively to overcome. There are exciting opportunities ahead. The second floor space above People's Driven Credit Union is a blank page ready to have its story written. Elizabeth asked me to take a peek at it last week. I was so impressed with the large open space for the DDA to work and interact, along with the closed office spaces that could be rented daily, weekly, or monthly. I was thrilled to see that this space could embody the DDA's mission. The space, however, needs a lot of help. Old carpeting, bathrooms in disrepair, missing and damaged ceiling tiles, fluorescent lighting, and old paint. Working together as a community, I believe this can be a viable, dynamic space for the DDA to meet its goals and other businesses to have a workspace to meet its goals. Multi-purpose spaces with comfortable, flexible seating areas would allow for meeting and working collaboratively. Vignettes could be arranged to feature Romeo's shops, industries, foods, and goods. Updates are needed to make this space appealing and inviting. The carpeting needs to be replaced. Fresh paint is needed on the walls. The bathrooms do not look like they're functioning. The drop ceiling has many broken tiles. The furniture that is being donated can be painted and repurposed. Updated technology is vital for the DDA as well as possible rentable office space. It is wonderful to be a part of a community where so many great things can happen by optimizing our resources. I ask that you support the new space for the DDA to focus on its job to keep Romeo's downtown moving forward. Thank you, Elizabeth, and to you board members for your dedication to help our small businesses in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Anybody else? But Kathy, I didn't realize how short you were.
Well, if you met my son, you would see that
I
can't
have
be his
met
mother,
your son, right?
Right. Thank you for letting me give you my 2 cents. I have to admit, when I first heard of the proposal for this new space, I wasn't for it because of the amount of monies that would be needed to rent or to be viable for the space. But after learning about the facts of things that could happen, and the fact that we could make money at this, I think that one started turning me around to thinking to think bigger and better. So not only would we have the opportunities to rent the office space out after, with help, I would be willing to help with any of these renovations as well. As like Donna said, repurposing, that's what we can do.
Your forte.
Yeah, it's our forte. Also, though, thinking bigger and having an actual welcome center that eventually I feel like with that type of space that we could really make that into a vital part of the community with the DDA, using those funds hopefully that we make with renting those spaces out with that. So my only concern is the lease part of it, is it's a rock solid lease that we know for sure that we're going to have for 5 years because we are going to be putting an investment in, and I get that. So that was my one big concern. We go forward, we put all that money into it, we need to be there for 5 years. So that's my only concern with that, but I really feel that there's a lot of potential, even more than we even maybe even realize at this point. But definitely love to be a part of that and help with it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Okay. Can I get in approval of the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Greg?
I'll second.
Second by Elizabeth. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, old business, Romeo Winterfest 2023. Madison?
Hello. So I have a few updates regarding Romeo Winterfest that's going to be held on February 4th. In front of you, we have some little posters here. This is a draft of our schedule of events. We're going to have things happening all day long. We have a 5K going on first thing in the morning that filled up all of its slots, so that's 200 people confirmed. And then they had just opened up an extra 50 slots, so that's going to be a lot of people first thing in the morning. So we're going to have business from the start all the way to the end. We have kids' crafts and games happening throughout the entire day. We have our snow princesses coming back, an ice sculpture show, horse-drawn wagon rides, the whole shebang. So it's going to be a full day. Behind this sheet, we'll have our kind of general technical map for your purposes. It has every trash can and cone and everything that we'll need. The porta potties are going to be adjusted to part of the south end of town so we can hit that. But that's the only change there. The third little poster here is our snowman map. Also a draft. We're thinking on combining them so people can take and look at the schedule, go downtown, see the map. So this map has all of our snowmen. We have 26, I believe, downtown, and a bunch of them have been sponsored by a whole lot of businesses that we appreciate very much. So if you see, like at Four Corners Diner, we have EM Logics up towards the top. They're the one who sponsored them. If you see 5 Degrees North, Metro Electric was the one who sponsored their snowman. So these are little partnerships. And then you can see over where Main Street Kitchen and Bar is. They are partnering with Stark Weather to work on their snowman, and along with Shaner Roofing, who had sponsored theirs. So this is kind of the setup of, we want to recognize all of those people involved, even if they're not directly decorating the snowman. They paid for that snowman, so they should be recognized. So that's a little bit of our advertising. In the past little bit, we've had some concerns come up regarding food trucks, and I wanted to address that today. So our original thought process for bringing food trucks in was we were worried about capacity limits for restaurants. We were worried that there would be very long wait lines for an hour or more because we're expecting a lot of people. Last year we had 5,000 according to AI data. If we're going to have a lot of people coming in first thing in the morning and spending their entire day here, we want to make sure that they stay here. So that was our original intention with the food trucks. We were gathering different styles and just kind of moving forward with that. We had some concerns pop up from some of our dining community regarding, hey, this food truck is going to take away business from our downtown. They're an outside vendor. They only pay so much, and then they're going to take that money out. So that was one of the main concerns, and that they're drawing away business. So after hearing this, I wasn't sure what businesses were specifically complaining about what portion. So the past few days, I have hit most dining businesses in our district. Some I have missed just due to, open hours and how my hours work. But I am still planning on hitting those. It's just taking a little bit longer. And I sat down with either the owner or our direct point of contact and talked them through our entire reasoning process, what our concerns were, and I wanted to listen to their concerns. When I was talking to them, I brought up, our original concern, capacity. And I asked, what was your experience last year? What are your opinions from last year? And overall, a lot of them had consistent business last year, which, good, that's what we want. We want a consistent flow. And they were busy last year. In addressing this, I wanted to also make it known that some of these food trucks that we had agreed with have already made their payment. And we want to honor that as with any sort of vendor. Because if you guys were a vendor and you spent time getting in the supplies, you'd want to have that solidified. So there are a few that have paid, and we wanted to honor that. And all dining businesses that I've talked to, they understand that completely. So regarding what types of vendors, or food truck vendors, these are more fair food style. They're snack food. I wanted to make it known that these were not meant to be full meals. We want things to hold people over, but not fill them up. I don't know how else to put it. But so your kid can go grab an elephant ear, because I don't think anywhere here sells elephant ears, and can hold them over until dinner. So these are the types of things that we're bringing in. We've also cut down on the amount. Any food truck that was interested that had not submitted all of their paperwork has been turned away. So we are trying to make that adjustment that is fair for both the businesses, hearing them out, taking away some of that stress, but also honoring the agreements that we have made. I've discussed this with each owner point of contact.
Really quick before you move on, Madison.
Yes.
What are we charging the food vendors?
So I've been very consistent with this for any sort of vendor payment. It is $25 for the day, and I have made this known to some of the businesses. I've been talking to them, and they have brought up the idea of, because they pay leases for their building property. Is this where you're
Sure.
heading for?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of wondering how that number came about, and, 25 seems extremely low when they're coming in to take advantage of the hard work of the DDA. I understand we have to have a variety. I'm all for that. I think it's good. The capacity concerns are, of course, valid, but I think maybe there needs to be some discussion by this board to where we can maybe implement what we deem as the right cost to bring in an outside vendor. But I don't know what the thought process was behind that $25.
That's completely reasonable. I think the thought process is every time before that we've had vendors, it has been 25. So like Arbor Day last year, we brought in vendors, it was 25. Before we were able to make the cars for Vintage Fest coming in, that was a $25 payment. So we were trying to keep things consistent. But you bring up a good point, and that should be a discussion on like what is the appropriate level, because they're a different type of entity,
Sure.
But that was our thought process thinking there. It's also a little bit easier math than, hey, here's $73.
It just isn't
When we
easier.
did I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, 25 is.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. Well, I think.
No, your concern is
Okay,
reasonable,
yeah.
not.
So we can maybe discuss that
Yeah.
next month.
When we did our
internally.
first event, Arbor Day, most of those were just tent setups, and we did look at other small events of what we were doing at that size, and that's what they were charging. So that's
Yeah.
where that was our baseline that we
Yeah.
got from other spaces.
Okay.
And without having a track record, we didn't want to not have anybody show up because it was too much and we didn't know who would show up. Now, it's grown in popularity, and I appreciate you wanting to look at that very much.
Well, the thing you have to think about too is that no different than Peach Festival, what stops anybody on private property, if it's their parking lot or whatever it is, to, hey, I'll have my uncle's elephant ear truck here and charge him whatever I want. I know before, I think they just get a permit from the village to do that during Peach Festival, and then whatever the building owner and the vendor worked out, they worked out. So it almost has to go back to that business model, maybe like, hey, if you can get a permit from the village to do it, we'd love to have you, but you'll have to find, here's some spaces, and then if the bank says do it for free, but Greg Tar says it's this much money to put a truck in my front parking lot, then that's, I don't know.
I think it's good that if we keep the control over the vendors, and then we can kind of make sure that there's nobody that's competing, or, because then at that point, we leave it up to chance. I mean, I understand it from the, in front of a lot of people's homes and stuff like that, but
Right.
the more control we have over it, the
I
better.
agree, just, I don't know how we
So-
would have that.
I think it's a
control.
discussion for next month's
Right,
meeting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Um,
you.
Let's see. just trying to make sure that I hit all my points. When I was talking to all the owners' point of contacts, I've also asked them to keep track of their capacity and how they feel with wait times this year. See, do they feel like they're struggling or overwhelmed? Do they feel like everything's, perfect, everything's running smoothly? We want to know this and actually be able to collect this data, because this is something that we had missed out on before. So everyone's has in their brain that, okay, we're going to be tracking this. And then after Winterfest, I will be following up with each dining business to see what their experience was, so we can move forward either differently or same, depending on what the general data shows us. So.
If I could, just thinking, and Greg's comment made me think, the village does have a food truck vending ordinance permit. I don't know that it waives at any sort of event in town that these vendors would also need to come to the village. I'd have to look at that again.
So I have communicated with the clerk about this. I sent her an email to confirm. But I asked, we're bringing in some outside food vendors. What is the process for this? And she said that through our event permit, those trucks fall underneath it, because the applications through the village, those are, don't quote me on this, but they're for like 60 days or 3 months or something.
It's for like the ones that come in and sit in town.
Yeah. So that's a different type of permit.
Okay.
But I was getting confirmation from her, so I have talked to her about
Okay,
that.
good. Yeah, no, that just struck me as Greg mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's a good idea because, and again, we'll pivot, Kelly, but it could turn into a flea market type atmosphere 3 years or 4 years from now. We'll be like, hey, there's 7,000 people that visit Romeo on this weekend, let's go out and sell our leather or whatever,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we gotta watch it, but moving on.
Okay.
So is there any other questions? I have specific details if people want them, but we can save that for later, if that's,
Just one quick question.
Yeah.
Are they doing like the buskers or the music in the, okay, gotcha.
yes, so that's gonna be more inside. I believe
Okay.
that you've talked to Suzanne.
Yeah, she mentioned we were
Um,
interested, but I hadn't heard anything since. So I
yes.
just want to make sure. Okay.
So we've just finalized our musician schedule internally, and she's been collecting bios and getting pictures, so we can start communicating that, okay, here's this with the businesses, and so everyone can advertise their music, and it's gonna be all over. So there'll be music at the Masonic Lodge, there's gonna be music at River of God, there's gonna be music at JL's, FAM's, and MJC. I believe I think I hit all of them.
Awesome.
So it's gonna be
People-driven.
spread out, and people-driven.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay, on to new business. Before us, we have the office space lease agreement with People Driven Credit Union. I don't know if you all had an opportunity to go through and read the lease.
Kelly, I just want to confirm that our attorney did read this over and.
I have sent it to him.
Okay.
I have not gotten a response back.
Gotcha. I think my only major question would be, that 5-year term, like, that's fantastic. I'd love 10 if they would give it to us. But
I did ask.
I'm sure you did. That doesn't surprise me. But what if banks, credit unions, they change names, structure, ownership all the time? If People's Driven was to change to a different bank or a credit union, how would that affect us?
So that's a good question. In the lease, it's specifically addressed, it doesn't say worst-case scenario, but there's a 180-day notice.
Okay.
6 months, that's a long time. But when I talked with Emily, we had some further conversing on a few of these topics yesterday. And she said with the fact that they just bought merged with another bank, a credit union in Livonia, and they're bringing staff from up here. This is her hometown area. They have no desire whatsoever to leave Romeo. But if for some reason something were to happen, they would expect the new owners to honor this lease. And so at 5 years, she said, we see this as a partnership that's going to be far-reaching. They're about to open up their business services, so I mean, it's kind of a hand-in-hand, works really well. So they have no desire to, even this morning when I spoke with her briefly about something, I got her title wrong, so I want to make sure it's, Emily Roberts is the Chief Operations Officer for People Driven Credit Union. So I had
Just to
said
answer
CEO.
a little bit of history on this.
Sure.
The Roberts family, her grandfather started this credit union on the property of Ford Proving Ground.
Oh, really?
So they have lived in this community for years. And the bigger picture of this is they physically own that building. So that's a huge bonus. But yeah, they're committed to this. They've never left. You know, they started at Ford Proving Ground, they moved to 33 Mile, then they looked in downtown, so.
And they were renting that space, I believe,
Correct.
in Fiddler's Cove,
Yes.
correct, for quite a
Mhm.
long time before
Yep.
they bought this building.
Yep.
So, and I put in the background, Board Chair Kelly Stevens, she's the reason this has happened. I didn't even know there was an upstairs. I haven't been here 16 years, but never knew there was an upstairs at People Driven. And so Emily just happened to be in the credit union the day she walked in, sometime in December. And she said, this is exactly what we were hoping we could do with someone. And so the timing just worked out well with, the urgency for us to find a new space to relieve that pressure from the village offices and to honor our new village president's request. I mean, it's kind of a win-win, so.
So we have a motion to approve lease agreement with People Driven Credit Union and the Downtown Development Authority for a period of 5 years commencing on January 19th, 2023, as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
And there's no money involved, so do you have to do a roll call? Or
Everybody
do you
in
still do a
favor?
roll call?
I would do a roll call just
Yeah,
because of the.
I think so too.
All right, sounds good. Hayes,
Yes.
Tar,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Stevens.
Yes.
All right. Yay. Wonderful.
So up next, we have the office space funding request. Part of this funding request is demands from the leaser. And we have Exhibit B in your packet. I don't know if you've all gotten a chance to read through it, but there are 10 stipulations that have to be done. It's the signage on the building, replace the flooring, replace vanities and toilets, and cap off the urinal, remove the urinal, remove all wallpaper, drywall tape, and paint all surfaces, electrical updates to swap out original light fixtures to LED, electrical updates for additional outlets in office, blinds either cleaned or replaced at tenant's discretion. This last one, can you explain that a little bit to me? The lock and closure of the entrance to the
Sure.
stairs. Do they want you to put a door in, or? what-
No.
Because there's
so-
a gate there right now.
Yeah, the gate can
Yes.
still be used. Deborah McLeod, who's helped with some of this from EM Logics, Embedded Logics, she has a lot of, part of her work is security. And so she looked into some things, looking at some sort of a different closure. The closure works great, but what we'll do is we'll have some sort, it's in the
I read
budget
it.
spreadsheet.
I read
But
it.
it's some sort of like a, so we don't have to have a
Electronic.
key.
It's
Mhm.
electronic.
It's just making sure that it's secured when we're not up there, that we keep it locked.
Yeah, I was not quite clear where they wanted you to put a door up, so.
No.
You can continue, okay.
Yeah, we can keep the what we have there currently. Hopefully, we can get it taken down. Perhaps there's a machinist or somebody who does, the spray stuff where they could take it out and do a new finish on it. So it's kind of chippy right now.
So the background of this is, as per the lease agreement, updates are required by People-Driven Credit Union. Please refer to the attached leasehold improvement project proposal and funding request. Included in this budget are items to equip the space and other areas with standard office equipment. As can be seen in the last column, efforts have been made and attained to garner in kind donation, work at cost, and direct monetary donations in the amount exceeding $15,700 or $15,179.96. So I don't know if any of you have questions on the updates and improvements.
My only question would be, how are we doing this with our purchasing policy? Like, making sure we're following those guidelines? Because, we're not technically sending any of this out to bid, and we're getting a lot of this donated in kind for a lot of the labor and things like that. Are we okay with that? That's my only concern.
So from my understanding of that, yes, that's why I'm bringing it before the board with it quite clearly
Okay.
identified. So those are great questions. I will say I have a folder for every portion of this. I have electrical, I have plumbing, I have IT services, I have the flooring, painting, permits and zoning certificates that we have to, and, you know, and of course, the budget. We had, I believe, I think I had 5 carpet estimators come out, 3 electrical, 2 plumbers, what am I missing? 2 paint, and so forth. And we have all of those quotes, so we ended up with 4 quotes for the
So it sounds
flooring.
like she did go out and.
So I've already done it without you guys asking me to.
Yeah,
So-
I just didn't know if like any, based on dollar amounts, if anything had to be like sealed bids that go out and, you know, with the scope of work and everything
Sure.
like that.
So we ended up with, if I may speak to that? Okay. So for instance, the flooring, we had 5 measures and 4 actual bids. And Romeo Floors would love to do this project, and they are donating all of the labor costs of this in exchange for sponsorship recognition. So it's hard, how do you put an RFP out and say, oh, by the way,
Right.
we want you to donate the labor?
Right.
That would be quite hard to do. So electrical, we had 3 electricians come out. Matthew Jarosh Electrical, as you all know, the Cold Frame family, he is willing to also donate his services in exchange for the sponsorship. Plumbing, Matt Cameron was the first one who came out, and I said, how much would all this cost? He said, and he is the one that gave me the idea. And he said, I'll do the labor for you. Just give me materials. His son is his apprentice, and he's like, this is all stuff that my apprentice can do. And then the same thing happened with paint as well. So Greg had volunteered, actually Greg Briner, to help do some of the
Does
painting.
Greg Breitner know?
He did, yes, yeah, he came and visited the site.
Okay. The
Greg
way you
has-
sounded, Greg's
Yeah.
volunteered him.
Right, yeah, but he came and he's like, this would be fun, but I'm gonna be in Florida, and then I'm gonna do this, and so then I contacted John Salcido from Salcido Plumbing, or Salcido Painting. His daughter is branching off, so they're gonna be changing their name, and he saw this as a wonderful opportunity to promote her new company. And so he's willing to donate his, and only at cost. So Greg said he was still willing to donate the $750, so you'll see that in the ledger that actually comes off of the 19.7. And then John said, yep, the labor, and Ace Hardware is also donating paint. So when you see the last column there, so I said electrical, plumbing, carpet, and paint. So when you see then the various costs at 19.7, and then you carry it all the way over, the 15.1, those are amounts that came directly from the contractors saying what their labor donation is versus the cost of materials. So materials is already separated out. So if you add those together, it would be close to $36,000 for everything we're doing. In addition, I'll just say one more thing. Tech City Electronics, I know I put a letter of support at the end of this from Mike Romano, but he's willing to do in-kind donation for IT support, because right now we get IT services through the village. We won't have that anymore. And although we have paid for that, by the way, so that will help save some money in our budget. And we also found out yesterday, People Driven's IT is also willing to help us in kind. So, and then the last thing is, it's not spelled out in here because we don't know, but because they're closing one of the office that they just purchased, we will be able to get office furniture, a conference table, possibly some monitors. There's a lot of it. She said, we'll come up with a list, and if you want any of it, you can have it. So a lot of these other expenses that you see in here are pretty traditional setting things up, because when we leave the village, all we'll have is our chairs. I think the copier, did you talk to somebody about that, Megan? About the printer upstairs?
What about?
Just that was given to the DDA last summer. I don't know if that's, I think Deborah mentioned something that she talked to you about that. Pardon?
I don't recall that.
Oh, okay, but it's an old printer that they were gonna throw out from the old, so that's a possibility for that, to make those arrangements.
If you had to guess, like, how long is the project gonna, like, when would you think we'd be open there by?
Yeah, John Salcido said he could probably start on the paint next week or the week after. And the electrical, I believe Matt said he could get started on that right away. I talked to Emily this morning, and she said she just happens to be coming in town tomorrow, so if we're able to sign the lease tomorrow and do some sort of a press release, we would have occupancy as soon as they change the sensors. But we can get in there anytime during regular hours. But they'll change the motion, the alarm system is set for up there, and they'll disarm that, and then, so it's only for the credit union portion.
No, I'm saying like for completion.
Oh, for completion?
Yeah, like when would we be in there, like,
Sure.
done, open house? Is it?
I think we were shooting for, it's in there somewhere, I think we're shooting for like an open house to be March timeframe. So I would like to see this completed
had it.
within 4 to 6 weeks. I know they're moving furniture downstairs in 3 weeks, so just having the carpet done within 3 weeks, because they're taking the furniture on their first floor and they're getting new, so they would just carry it upstairs for us. We don't even have to pay a movers to do that.
So we have a motion to approve leasehold improvement project proposal as presented in an amount not to exceed $20,000. And I don't know if you saw the letter from Danielle Kelly, the auditor for Plant Moran that does our budget. But we had 3 line items. In this year's budget, it was the CBD parking and wayfinding. We had proposed $5,000. We had the LED lighting globe replacement at $10,000 and new banners at $5,000. If we move those amounts into the office capital expenditures, that's the $20,000 that we're looking at. So it really does not affect our budget.
And we would do that at a budget amendment time.
Right.
That doesn't have to be
Yes.
done right now.
Well, I just wanted to make that aware. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the leasehold improvement project proposal as presented in the amount not to exceed $20,000.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Poznanski,
Yes?
Hayes,
Yes?
Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Stevens.
Yes.
Yay! This is exciting.
It
That's
is
awesome.
exciting.
Yeah.
It's a great
Good
use,
job.
it's a great use of that space upstairs. I have to tell you, I was part of that space. When I walked up there, it looked just like it did 30 years ago.
I'm surprised your name
It's-
isn't on that card still in the
It's-
back corner.
It's the, no, mine was in the front. I was the receptionist. Before we adjourn, do we have any board member comments?
I just want to say thank you to People's Driven. It's a great opportunity, and I think it's going to be a good home for the Romeo DDA, not just for the next 5 years, but hopefully much longer. So it's exciting. Good work, everyone.
Megan? No,
Same
I'll
thing.
echo Zach's, that this is a great opportunity for us. It's a gift from that corporation and a good commitment from the Roberts family.
Yeah, same thing here. Again, great job, you guys finding it, putting it together, hustling it up, making it happen, getting the donations and the volunteers to make it happen. It's truly what the village should be about.
Awesome. Thank you. We're excited for it. May I say one last thing regarding the lease? So the lease we have with the village, I would just ask that it's $50 a month. So I think if we could leave it alone until we know, it would be nice not to have to, have a deadline of, 30 days from Monday or 30 days from our next board meeting or whatever. So that would just make it easier. And even if we have a 30 days at some point and we left the next day, obviously I would imagine you'd want to honor the $50 a month rent that has been prepaid. So just a suggestion, so.
Okay,
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
everybody in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Well, that was short.